Hey guys, tonight's relaxing history story is called Did Medieval People Drink Alcohol to Stay Warm? Boring History for Sleep. Before we begin our quiet journey into the cold winters of the Middle Ages, I have a small request. Most of you who listen to these long relaxing history stories every night are actually not subscribed to the channel, so if you enjoy calm historical storytelling that helps you relax and fall asleep, please consider subscribing. Your support really helps this small channel grow and continue making peaceful history videos for sleep. And before we begin tonight's story, I'm curious about something. Right now, as you're listening to this video, which city are you watching from? Let me know in the comments below. Now dim the lights, get comfortable, relax your mind, and let's slowly travel back to a cold winter night in the Middle Ages. Imagine standing in a small medieval village on a freezing winter evening. The sky's dark and thick clouds hide the moon behind a cold grey curtain. Snow quietly falls across the narrow dirt road that runs through the centre of the village. The wind moves slowly between the wooden houses, carrying the faint smell of smoke from many small fireplaces. This is the Middle Ages, a time when winter was not simply uncomfortable, but often dangerous. For the people living in these villages, staying warm was a constant challenge. Homes were simple, fires burned low, and warm clothing was limited. Many families spent the long winter months trying to survive the cold as best as they could. But if you walk through this village at night, you might notice something interesting. Inside many of the houses, people are holding wooden mugs filled with dark liquid. They are drinking ale, or sometimes mead, slowly warming themselves beside the fire. This raises a curious question that historians still discuss today. Did medieval people really drink alcohol to keep their bodies warm during the cold winter nights? The answer is a little more complicated than it might first appear. To understand this story properly, we must first understand what winter life was truly like during the Middle Ages. Unlike today, medieval houses were not designed to keep heat inside. Most homes were built from wood, mud, and simple stone. Many houses had small cracks between the boards or stones where cold air could easily slip inside. The windows were often just small openings covered with cloth or wooden shutters. Glass windows were rare and expensive, usually only found in churches or wealthy homes. Inside these houses, a small fireplace was often the only source of heat. But even the fireplace had its problems. Many medieval homes did not have proper chimneys. Instead, smoke from the fire slowly escaped through holes in the roof or small vents near the top of the walls. This meant the inside of the house was often filled with a thin layer of smoke. The smoke irritated the eyes, made breathing uncomfortable, and slowly darkened the wooden beams above. But despite these problems, the fire was still incredibly important. Without it, winter nights could quickly become dangerously cold. Families would gather close together around the fire in the centre of the room. Children, parents, and sometimes even animals shared the same space to stay warm. Dogs often slept near the door, while chickens might rest in small baskets near the walls. This close living arrangement helped everyone share body heat during the coldest nights. But even with the fire burning, the air inside the house could still feel chilly. This is where warm drinks became very important. Unlike modern people, medieval villagers rarely drank plain water. Water sources were often contaminated or unsafe. Instead, most people drank weak forms of ale or beer throughout the day. This drink was sometimes called small ale. Small ale contained very little alcohol and was much safer to drink than untreated water. Even children were allowed to drink it because the alcohol content was extremely low. During winter, however, stronger drinks sometimes appeared. Ale, mead, and occasionally wine were consumed during evening meals or social gatherings. These drinks were often served warm, especially during cold months. A warm mug held in both hands beside the fire could make a person feel much more comfortable on a freezing night. But did the alcohol actually make their bodies warmer? At first, it certainly felt that way. When someone drinks alcohol, the blood vessels near the skin begin to expand. This creates a warm sensation across the body, especially in the face and hands. For a moment, the drinker might feel pleasantly warm and relaxed. But this warmth can be slightly misleading. In reality, alcohol can cause the body to lose heat more quickly over time. The expanded blood vessels allow warmth to escape from the body faster than usual. Modern science has shown that while alcohol can create the feeling of warmth, it does not truly help the body stay warm for long periods. Of course, medieval people did not have modern scientific knowledge. They simply trusted what their bodies seemed to tell them, and after a long cold day working outdoors, a warm drink beside the fire felt like the perfect solution. In many ways, drinking ale during winter became part of the daily rhythm of life. After sunset, villagers would finish their work and gather indoors. Families sat together near the fire, sharing simple meals of bread, stew, or roasted vegetables. Wooden mugs filled with ale were passed around the table. The room glowed softly in the light of candles and burning logs. Outside, the cold wind continued to move across the dark countryside. But inside the house, the small circle of firelight created a feeling of safety and comfort. This quiet moment at the end of the day was one of the few times people could truly relax. In some villages, people also visited local taverns during winter evenings. A tavern was a place where travellers, farmers and workers could gather together. Here they shared drinks, stories, and news from nearby towns. The tavern fire burned larger than most home fireplaces. The room was often filled with laughter, conversation, and the smell of warm ale. For many people, the tavern was more than just a place to drink. It was a place to escape the cold and enjoy a brief moment of warmth and community. As the snow continued to fall quietly outside, these small gatherings helped people endure the long winter nights of the Middle Ages, and while alcohol alone could not truly protect them from the cold, the warmth of fire, shelter, and companionship made the winter a little easier to survive. The fire inside the small medieval house continues to crackle softly as the long winter evening settles over the village. Outside, the wind moves slowly through the narrow paths between the houses, carrying fine snow across the frozen ground. Inside, the small room glows with warm orange light from the fire burning in the centre of the hearth. The wooden beams above are darkened by years of smoke, and the air carries the familiar smell of burning wood and warm ale. The family sitting near the fire knows that winter nights can be long and difficult. The cold outside is not just uncomfortable, it can be dangerous if a person is not prepared. In the Middle Ages, winters often lasted for many months, and the temperature could drop far below what people could comfortably tolerate. Snow covered the fields where crops once grew, the rivers sometimes froze solid. Travel between villages became slow and risky. For many people, the safest place during winter was inside their homes, close to the fire. But even there, warmth was never guaranteed. The walls of the house are made from wood and packed mud, materials that help block the wind but cannot stop the cold completely. Tiny cracks in the walls allow thin streams of icy air to slip inside. Sometimes the wind whistles softly through these small openings. The people inside have learned to live with these sounds. It is simply part of winter life. The fire in the hearth becomes the centre of everything. It cooks their food. It warms their hands and feet. It provides light when the sun disappears early in the evening. Without fire, surviving winter would be nearly impossible. Maintaining the fire requires constant attention. Someone in the household always watches the flames carefully. Logs must be added slowly so the fire burns steadily through the night. If the fire dies while everyone sleeps, the house could become dangerously cold by morning. Beside the fire, a wooden table holds several simple mugs. Each mug contains a dark golden drink made from barley. This drink is ale. Ale is one of the most common beverages in medieval life. Almost every village has someone who knows how to brew it. Brewing ale is not just a hobby, it is an important daily task. Water sources during the Middle Ages are not always clean. Streams and wells can sometimes carry harmful bacteria. But the process of brewing ale involves boiling water and fermenting grains, which makes the final drink safer to consume. Because of this, many people drink ale regularly throughout the day. Even children are sometimes given a very weak version called small ale. Small ale contains very little alcohol and is mostly used as a safe alternative to plain water. During winter evenings, however, the ale served beside the fire is often a little stronger. The warmth of the drink spreads slowly through the body. After working outdoors in the freezing air all day, this simple comfort feels incredibly satisfying. A man sitting near the fire lifts his mug and takes a slow sip. The liquid is slightly bitter but also warm and comforting. He feels the familiar warmth spreading through his chest and arms. For a moment, the cold world outside feels very far away. Across the room, another member of the family adjusts the thick wool cloak wrapped around their shoulders. Wool is one of the most valuable materials during the winter months. Sheep provide the thick fibres used to create warm clothing. A good wool cloak can protect a person from cold winds during long walks across snowy fields. Inside the house, people rarely remove these cloaks completely. Even near the fire, the air can still feel cool enough to require extra layers. The family's clothing is simple but practical. Loose linen shirts are worn beneath thicker wool garments. Leather shoes protect the feet from frozen ground outside. Sometimes extra animal furs are draped over shoulders for additional warmth. But clothing alone cannot fully defeat the cold. This is why people often rely on several small tricks to stay warm during winter. One of these tricks involves the use of hot drinks like ale. Another involves the clever design of beds. Medieval beds are very different from the comfortable mattresses we use today. Many beds are filled with straw or dried grass. Animal skins are layered on top to create insulation. Families often sleep close together under thick blankets made from wool or fur. Sharing body heat helps everyone stay warmer through the long night. Sometimes even pets sleep nearby. Dogs curled near the foot of the bed add a small but noticeable amount of warmth to the room. Another method people use to stay warm involves heated stones. Large stones are placed near the fire until they become hot. Then they are wrapped in cloth and placed near the bed before sleeping. These heated stones slowly release warmth throughout the night. It is a simple technique, but it can make a cold bed much more comfortable. Despite all these efforts, winter nights in the Middle Ages are rarely truly warm. People often wake up during the night when the fire burns lower or when the wind grows stronger outside. When this happens, someone usually rises quietly to add another log to the fire. The glowing flames brighten the dark room once again. Shadows dance across the wooden walls as the fire slowly grows stronger. During these quiet moments, another mug of ale might be warmed beside the fire. The drink does not magically heat the body, but the warmth it provides feels soothing and relaxing. The gentle feeling of comfort helps people unwind after a long day of physical work. In many ways, ale becomes part of the evening routine of winter life. It is not only about warmth, it is also about rest and companionship. Sitting together near the fire with a warm drink creates a sense of calm after the hard labour of the day. Stories are often shared during these moments. Older villagers speak about past winters that were even colder than this one. They remember seasons when snow covered the land for months without melting. They recall times when food became scarce and survival required careful planning. Younger listeners sit quietly, absorbing these stories like valuable lessons. Winter teaches patience and preparation. Every family learns to store food carefully before the cold months arrive. Dried meat, salted fish, grains, and preserved vegetables are kept safely in storage. These supplies must last until spring returns and new crops begin to grow. Sometimes the food stores become dangerously low near the end of winter. During those difficult weeks, every meal becomes smaller. Ale may still be brewed, but the grain used for brewing must also be carefully measured. Nothing can be wasted. As the night grows deeper, the room becomes quieter. The fire burns more slowly now, glowing softly beneath a bed of red embers. One by one, the members of the household begin preparing for sleep. Cloaks are folded beside the beds. Blankets are arranged carefully. The last mugs of ale are placed aside on the wooden table. Outside, the snow continues falling silently across the dark village. Inside, the small house settles into the peaceful rhythm of a winter night. The warmth of the fire, The comfort of shared shelter and the simple ritual of warm drinks help the people endure the long cold season together. Morning in the medieval village arrives slowly during winter. The sun rises late, and even when it does appear above the horizon, its light feels pale and weak. Inside the small wooden house, the fire from the previous night has burned down to a bed of faint red embers. The room is quiet. A thin grey light begins to slip through the small window opening in the wall. The cold air of the early morning slowly spreads through the house. One of the villagers wakes first. He pulls the thick wool blanket closer around his shoulders and breathes out slowly. His breath turns into a faint white cloud in the cold air. This is one of the first signs that the fire must be revived. Without a strong fire, the house will become painfully cold within minutes. He slowly rises from the bed made of straw and furs. The wooden floor beneath his feet feels icy. Moving quietly across the room, he kneels beside the hearth. With a small stick, he carefully pushes aside the grey ashes covering the embers. A faint red glow appears beneath the surface. That glow is a good sign. It means the fire is not completely dead. He gently adds a few small pieces of dry wood. For a moment, nothing happens. Then a small orange flame begins to grow. Soon the fire crackles softly as the wood begins to burn. Warmth slowly spreads through the room once again. One by one, the other members of the household begin to wake. Someone stretches slowly beside the fire. Another person wraps a wool cloak around their shoulders before stepping out of bed. Winter mornings in the Middle Ages are not rushed. People move slowly, allowing their bodies to warm before beginning the day's work. Outside the house, the village is still quiet. A thin layer of snow covers the roofs of the nearby homes. The ground crunches underfoot as the first villagers step outside to check their animals or gather firewood. Smoke begins rising from the roofs as more fires are lit across the village. Inside the house, breakfast preparation begins. Breakfast in the Middle Ages is usually simple. Bread from the previous day is placed near the fire to warm slightly. Sometimes it is dipped in broth or eaten with small pieces of cheese. On colder mornings, a pot of thin porridge made from oats or barley is prepared over the fire. While the food cooks slowly, one of the villagers reaches for a wooden mug sitting on the table. Inside, the mug is leftover ale from the night before. Drinking ale in the morning may seem unusual to modern people, but in the Middle Ages it is quite normal. The ale consumed during the morning is usually very weak. This small ale contains very little alcohol and is considered safe for daily drinking. Because water sources can sometimes be contaminated, small ale becomes a common and reliable drink. The mug is lifted slowly, and a small sip is taken. The liquid is slightly sour but refreshing. It provides a small burst of energy for the long day ahead. As breakfast continues, the villagers begin discussing the tasks waiting outside. Winter does not stop daily work. Animals must still be fed. Firewood must be collected. Repairs around the house must be completed before the next snowfall. In many ways, winter work is even more important than summer work. If supplies run out or the house becomes damaged, the cold weather can quickly become dangerous. Soon the door of the house opens. A sharp gust of cold air rushes inside. The person stepping outside pulls their cloak tightly around their body. The village looks peaceful in the morning light. Snow lies thick across the fields, hiding the ground beneath. Only the narrow paths between houses remain visible, where villagers have walked many times before. A few chickens move slowly across the snow near one of the barns, their feathers puffed up to keep themselves warm. Nearby, a small group of villagers gathers beside a wooden fence. They are discussing the weather. Winter storms can arrive quickly during this time of year. Heavy snowfall can block roads and make travel nearly impossible. Everyone in the village pays close attention to the sky during winter mornings. If dark clouds appear on the horizon, preparations must begin immediately. Back inside the house, another mug of ale is poured. This time the ale is slightly warmed near the fire. Warm drinks are especially comforting on cold mornings. The warmth spreads slowly through the hands as the mug is held close. For a moment, the cold outside feels less threatening. Although medieval people believed alcohol helped warm the body, the truth is more complex. The warm feeling comes mostly from the temperature of the drink and the relaxing effects of alcohol. But the belief that ale helped fight the cold remained strong throughout medieval life. Many villagers trusted this simple ritual: a warm drink in the morning, another in the evening beside the fire. These small comforts made winter more bearable. As the morning continues, the village slowly becomes more active. Doors open. People move between houses carrying tools, baskets, and bundles of firewood. The sound of chopping wood echoes faintly across the snowy fields. Life continues even during the coldest months. Survival depends on cooperation and routine. By midday, the weak winter sun climbs slightly higher in the sky. Its light reflects brightly across the snow, creating a dazzling white landscape. But despite the sunlight, the air remains cold. The warmth of the fire inside the house still calls to those working outside. And as the villagers continue their daily routines, the simple tradition of warm drinks and shared fires quietly helps them endure another cold day in the medieval winter. By the time the weak winter sun reaches the middle of the sky, the medieval village is already busy with quiet activity. The snow that fell during the night now glows softly under the pale daylight. Thin smoke rises from many rooftops, slowly drifting into the cold air above the village. Inside the houses, fires continue to burn carefully in the hearths. The fires must never be allowed to die. During winter, a strong fire is the difference between comfort and misery. In some cases, it is the difference between life and death. Inside one small wooden house, a man sits near the hearth warming his hands. His wool gloves are slightly damp from working outside in the snow. He stretches his fingers slowly toward the flames, feeling the warmth return to them. Cold fingers can quickly become stiff and painful during winter work. Sometimes the skin cracks and bleeds from the freezing air. Because of this, villagers often take short breaks near the fire whenever they return inside. Beside him on the wooden table sits a clay jug filled with ale. The ale was brewed several weeks ago using barley and clean water taken from a nearby stream. Brewing ale is a common task in many medieval homes. Most families either brew their own ale or buy it from someone in the village who specialises in brewing. The process itself is slow but simple. Barley grains are soaked in water and allowed to begin sprouting. After a short time, the grains are dried and crushed. These crushed grains are then boiled in water over a fire. The boiling process extracts sugars from the barley. Later, yeast is added to the liquid, allowing fermentation to begin. Over several days, the mixture slowly transforms into ale. The result is a drink that is both nourishing and safe to consume. Unlike water, which can sometimes carry disease, ale is boiled during preparation. This makes it safer for daily drinking. For many villagers, ale becomes part of nearly every meal. It provides small amounts of energy, warmth, and comfort during long days of labour. The man beside the fire reaches for the jug and pours a small amount into a wooden mug. He holds the mug near the fire for a moment, allowing the liquid to warm slightly. When he takes a sip, the warmth spreads gently through his throat and chest. It does not make the cold disappear completely, but it creates a brief feeling of relaxation and calm. Across the room, another member of the household is repairing a wool cloak. The cloak has become worn from weeks of outdoor work. Small tears have appeared near the shoulders where the fabric rubs against tools and firewood. Using a thick bone needle and coarse thread, the person carefully stitches the damaged sections. Warm clothing is extremely valuable during winter. A good cloak can protect the body from wind and snow during long walks between fields and forests. Without proper clothing, even short trips outside can become uncomfortable, and in severe cold, dangerous. The villagers understand this well. Every piece of clothing must be maintained and repaired whenever necessary. Nothing is wasted. Outside the house, a group of villagers is gathering near the edge of the forest. They carry axes and rope. Their goal today is to collect more firewood. Firewood supplies must be constantly replenished during winter. A single household can burn through large amounts of wood every week. Without enough firewood stored nearby, surviving the cold months becomes nearly impossible. The men move carefully between the trees, searching for fallen branches and dead trunks. Cutting down living trees is sometimes avoided if possible. Dead wood burns well and is easier to collect. Each swing of the axe echoes softly through the quiet forest. Snow falls gently from the branches with every impact. Soon, a pile of chopped logs begins to grow. These logs will be tied together and dragged back to the village using ropes. The journey back is slow. Heavy logs leave deep trails in the snow behind them, but the villagers know this effort will pay off later when the cold nights grow even longer. Back in the village, the midday meal is being prepared. The smell of simple stew begins to fill the small houses. A pot hangs over the fire containing vegetables, grains, and sometimes small pieces of meat. The stew cooks slowly while people continue their work around the house. When the food is ready, everyone gathers near the fire. Bowls are filled and placed carefully on the wooden table. Alongside the meal, mugs of ale appear once again. Drinking ale during meals is extremely common. It provides hydration and small amounts of nourishment. But perhaps more importantly, it adds comfort to the meal. During winter, warm drinks feel especially welcome. The villagers eat slowly, enjoying the warmth of both the food and the fire. Outside, the wind begins to grow stronger. Snow drifts slowly across the narrow paths between houses. Winter weather can change quickly. A calm afternoon can easily become a freezing evening storm. This is why villagers try to complete most outdoor tasks before sunset. Once darkness arrives, temperatures often drop even further. Travelling outside at night becomes unpleasant and sometimes dangerous. As the meal ends, another small mug of ale is poured. This time it is shared between two people sitting near the fire. They speak quietly about the coming weeks. Winter is only halfway finished. There are still many cold nights ahead. But moments like this help make the season easier to endure. The fire crackles softly. The warm mugs sit comfortably in tired hands. And inside the small wooden house, the villagers continue their quiet routines as the long winter day slowly moves toward evening. As the afternoon slowly fades, the pale winter sun begins to sink toward the distant hills. The light outside grows softer and colder. Long shadows stretch across the snow-covered paths of the medieval village. The air becomes noticeably colder with every passing hour. Villagers understand this quiet signal very well. Night is approaching, and with night, the true cold of winter begins to return. Inside the small wooden homes, preparations for the evening slowly begin. One of the first things people do is strengthen the fire. More logs are carefully placed into the hearth. The dry wood crackles loudly as the flames grow brighter and stronger. The warm orange glow spreads across the room, pushing back the creeping darkness. The fire is not only important for warmth, it is also the main source of light inside the house. Candles exist during the Middle Ages, but they are often expensive. Many families prefer to use them only when necessary. Because of this, the fire becomes the centre of both warmth and light during winter evenings. A woman in the house places a small iron pot above the flames. Inside the pot is a mixture of water, herbs, and a little ale. This drink is sometimes warmed during cold evenings. The gentle heat from the fire slowly warms the liquid. Soon, a pleasant smell of herbs begins to fill the room. Warm drinks like this are common during the colder months. The warmth spreads through the body slowly and creates a comforting feeling. Although the alcohol itself does not truly heat the body, the warm drink relaxes the muscles and eases the tension built up during a long day of work. Outside, the village grows quieter. Many villagers have already finished their outdoor tasks. Animals are safely placed inside barns or wooden shelters. Doors are closed tightly to block the wind. Small trails of smoke continue rising from the rooftops. Each house glows faintly from the fire burning inside. The village looks peaceful beneath the dim winter sky. Inside the house, the family gathers once again near the hearth. The evening meal is prepared slowly over the fire. Tonight the meal is simple. A pot of thick stew made from barley, carrots, and onions bubbles gently above the flames. Occasionally, a small piece of salted meat is added to improve the flavour. Food during winter must be carefully rationed. Most fresh crops were harvested months earlier. Now families depend on stored grains, preserved vegetables, and salted meat to survive until spring. Every meal must be measured carefully so supplies last through the cold season. As the stew continues to cook, the warm drink prepared earlier is poured into wooden mugs. The mugs are thick and sturdy. They have been used for many years. Some even show marks from previous repairs. Each mug holds a small amount of warm ale mixed with herbs. The villagers lift the mug slowly. The steam rises gently into the cool air of the room. The first sip feels comforting. The warmth spreads across the chest and stomach. For a moment, the cold outside feels far away. During the Middle Ages, many people believed drinks like this help the body stay warm. The warmth from the mug certainly helped the hands, and the warm liquid created a pleasant feeling inside the body. But modern science now tells us something interesting. Alcohol actually causes the blood vessels near the skin to widen. This creates the feeling of warmth, but it also allows body heat to escape more quickly. Medieval people did not know this. They simply trusted what they felt, and what they felt was warmth and comfort during cold evenings. Because of this, warm ale became part of winter traditions in many villages. People shared drinks not only for warmth, but also for companionship. After the meal, the villagers remained seated near the fire. The night outside has grown darker now. The wind moves softly around the house. Sometimes a gust of wind pushes against the wooden walls. The structure creaks quietly as it resists the cold air outside. Inside, however, the atmosphere feels calm and peaceful. The fire continues to burn steadily. Its light dances across the wooden beams above. Small sparks occasionally rise into the air before disappearing into the smoke. One of the villagers begins telling a story. Storytelling is a common form of entertainment during long winter nights. There are no radios or televisions. Instead, people share stories from memory. Some stories are about past winters that were especially harsh. Others are legends passed down from earlier generations. Children listen closely as the story unfolds. Their eyes reflect the glow of the firelight. The warm room, the sound of the wind outside, and the calm voice of the storyteller create a relaxing atmosphere. Occasionally, someone takes another small sip from their mug. The drink has cooled slightly now, but it still carries a gentle warmth. Moments like this are important during the cold season. They remind the villagers that winter is something they face together. Outside, the snow continues to fall quietly across the fields and rooftops. Inside the house, the fire burns strong. The mugs rest comfortably in warm hands, and the peaceful rhythm of medieval winter life continues through another long evening. Night has now fully settled over the medieval village. The sky above is dark and heavy, with thick winter clouds slowly drifting across the horizon. Only a few faint stars appear between the moving clouds. The cold outside feels sharper than it did during the day. Snow continues to fall quietly across the roofs and narrow paths of the village. Inside the small wooden house, however, the fire still burns warmly in the hearth. The flames crackle and shift as fresh logs settle into place. Their soft orange glow fills the room with gentle light. The warmth spreads slowly through the air, pushing away the chill that tries to creep inside from the outside world. The family sits close together around the hearth. Winter evenings often encourage people to gather in one place. There is little reason to move around the house when the warmest spot is right beside the fire. Wooden benches and stools are pulled closer to the hearth. Blankets and thick wool cloaks are wrapped tightly around shoulders. The firelight reflects softly in the clay mugs resting on the table nearby. One of the villagers reaches for a jug of ale. The jug is made from heavy clay and slightly darkened from years of use. He pours a small amount into a wooden mug. The ale is dark and cloudy, but its smell is pleasant and earthy. Before drinking, he places the mug near the fire for a few moments. The warmth of the flames slowly heats the drink. Soon, a thin trail of steam begins rising gently from the surface. Warm drinks have become part of the evening ritual in many medieval homes. The warmth does not last forever, but it provides a brief moment of comfort. And during long winter nights, small comforts can feel incredibly valuable. Outside, the wind begins to grow stronger. It moves across the frozen fields and rattles softly against the wooden walls of the house. The villagers hear the sound but remain calm. They are used to the restless voice of winter. In fact, many medieval homes were built with this kind of weather in mind. The roofs are steep, so snow can slide off more easily. Thick wooden beams support the structure against heavy winds. The walls are packed with mud, straw, and clay to block as much cold air as possible. Still, winter always finds a way to slip inside. Small drafts move quietly along the floor. People sitting near the fire stretch their feet toward the flames to keep them warm. A dog sleeping near the hearth lifts its head for a moment before curling back into its warm spot. Animals often stay inside the house during the coldest months. Their presence provides a little extra warmth, and they are safer indoors during winter storms. After finishing his drink, the man places the empty mug back on the table. Another member of the household begins preparing a small pot of broth. The broth is simple, just water, a few herbs, and leftover vegetables from earlier meals. But when warmed over the fire, it becomes a comforting drink. The pot is placed carefully over the flames. Soon the liquid begins to steam gently. The smell of herbs slowly spreads through the room. Warm liquids are especially soothing during winter nights. They warm the hands, relax the body, and help people feel calm before sleep. In many ways, the evening routine during the Middle Ages was designed around the fire. The fire cooked food. It provided warmth. It gave light when the sun disappeared. Without it, life during winter would be extremely difficult. As the night grows deeper, the conversation in the room becomes quieter. The villagers feel the tiredness from the day's work slowly settling into their muscles. Some stretch their legs toward the fire. Others lean back against the wooden walls. The warmth and gentle crackling of the flames create a relaxing atmosphere. For a moment, one of the villagers steps outside to check the weather. The door opens with a soft creak. A sharp blast of freezing air rushes into the house. Snowflakes swirl quickly in the darkness beyond the doorway. The person steps outside and pulls their cloak tightly around their body. The village looks peaceful, but frozen. Snow has already begun covering the paths again. The wind carries the fine snow across the open spaces between houses. Looking up, the villager sees thick clouds moving slowly across the sky. More snow will likely fall during the night. After a quick look around, he returns inside. The door closes again, shutting out the cold wind. Everyone near the fire feels the sudden drop in temperature for a brief moment. But the warmth of the hearth quickly fills the room again. Soon the small pot of broth is ready. It is poured into several mugs and passed around the group. The drink is simple but warm. The heat spreads through the body slowly. Many medieval people believed warm drinks helped protect them from winter illness. Cold weather often brought coughs and fevers. Herbal drinks mixed with ale or broth were sometimes used to help people feel better. Some herbs were believed to have healing properties. Others were simply added for flavour. Whether they truly cured illness or not, these warm drinks provided comfort during cold nights. As the evening continues, the villagers begin preparing for sleep. Blankets are shaken out and placed on the beds. The straw mattresses are adjusted to make them more comfortable. Sleeping arrangements during the Middle Ages were often shared. Several family members might sleep in the same bed. Sharing body heat made the cold nights easier to endure. Before going to sleep, someone places one final log onto the fire. The flames grow stronger once again. This final log is meant to burn slowly through the night. It helps keep the house from becoming too cold while everyone sleeps. The mugs are cleared from the table. The clay jug of ale is covered and set aside for the next day. Outside, the snow continues falling gently across the quiet village. Inside the house, the fire glows warmly in the hearth. The villagers settle into their beds, wrapped in blankets and furs. Their bodies slowly relax as the warmth of the fire and the calm rhythm of the winter night carry them towards sleep. And in the quiet darkness of the medieval village, the soft crackling of the fire continues long after the villagers have drifted into peaceful rest. The medieval night continues quietly across the village. Most of the houses are now dark except for the faint orange glow of dying fires. Snow falls slowly from the sky, covering the paths and rooftops with another thin white layer. Inside the wooden house, the final log placed in the hearth earlier in the night is still burning. The flames are smaller now, but the glowing embers beneath the log continue to release gentle warmth. The room is silent except for the occasional crackle of the fire. Several villagers sleep close together under thick wool blankets and animal furs. Sharing warmth during winter nights is common. The thick walls of the house help block some of the wind outside, but the cold still finds ways to slip inside through tiny gaps in the wood and clay. Because of this, sleeping close together helps conserve body heat. In the middle of the night, one of the villagers wakes briefly. The cold air brushes lightly across his face. He opens his eyes and listens to the quiet room. The fire is still alive, but it has become weaker. Slowly he rises from the bed and walks toward the hearth. The floor beneath his feet feels cold. He kneels beside the fire and gently moves the ashes aside with a small wooden stick. The red glow of the embers appears once again. This is enough to revive the fire. He places a few small pieces of wood onto the embers. Soon a small flame begins to grow. The light slowly returns to the room. After watching the flames for a moment, he takes a clay mug from the table. Inside the mug is a small amount of leftover ale from earlier in the evening. He holds the mug near the fire. The warmth from the flames slowly heats the drink. Taking a quiet sip, he feels the gentle warmth spread through his chest. For many medieval villagers, drinks like this are part of the rhythm of winter nights. They are not only consumed during meals, sometimes they're used simply to create a moment of warmth during the coldest hours. Outside, the wind moves through the village again. The sound of it brushing against the wooden walls is soft but constant. Winter winds often travel across open fields without obstruction. When they reach the village, they swirl around the houses and barns. The structures creak quietly as they hold against the cold air. Inside the house, however, the fire slowly grows stronger again. The new pieces of wood catch the flames and begin to burn. The villager places the mug back on the table and returns to bed. The warmth from the revived fire slowly spreads through the room. Soon the quiet breathing of the sleeping villagers fills the house once more. Hours pass slowly during the long winter night. Eventually the dark sky begins to change. Far on the horizon, a faint grey light appears. Morning is approaching again. In the Middle Ages, winter nights feel especially long. Without modern lighting, most people go to sleep soon after darkness falls, but they also wake earlier, often rising with the first light of dawn. As the sky slowly brightens, the embers in the hearth continue glowing. One by one, the villagers begin waking from their sleep. The cold morning air inside the house reminds them that the fire must be strengthened again. Just like every other winter morning, the first task of the day will be bringing the fire back to life. The cycle continues. Fire is lit, food is prepared, warm drinks are poured. Work begins again outside in the cold fields and snowy forests. Winter life in the medieval village follows this simple rhythm: fire, warmth, food, rest, and small mugs of ale that bring comfort during the coldest season of the year. The new winter morning arrives slowly over the medieval village. At first, the sky is only a pale grey colour. The sun is still hidden behind the distant hills and thick clouds. Cold air sits heavily over the frozen ground. During the night, more snow has fallen. Roofs, fences, and narrow paths are covered again with a soft white layer. Inside the wooden house, the fire has become quiet during the final hours of the night. Only a bed of red, glowing embers remains in the hearth. The room feels colder now. The warmth from the night has slowly faded. One of the villagers wakes and slowly sits up beneath the thick wool blankets. His breath becomes visible in the cold air. This is the first sign that the fire must be awakened again. He moves carefully across the room and kneels beside the hearth. Using a small iron poker, he gently moves the ashes aside. The glowing embers appear beneath the grey ash. They are still alive. This is good news. Starting a completely new fire during winter mornings can be difficult. Keeping the embers alive through the night saves time and effort. He places several thin sticks onto the glowing coals. For a moment nothing happens. Then a tiny flame appears. Slowly the flame grows larger as the wood begins to catch fire. Soon the familiar crackling sound fills the quiet house again. Warm light spreads across the room. One by one the other villagers begin waking. Someone stretches near the bed. Another pulls a wool cloak tightly around their shoulders before stepping onto the cold wooden floor. Morning routines in the medieval world begin quietly. There is no hurry. The first task is always warmth. Without warmth, nothing else can begin. A clay pot is placed above the growing fire. Inside the pot is water mixed with crushed barley. This will become a simple morning porridge. While the food slowly heats, another person reaches for the wooden jug sitting on the table. Inside the jug is small ale brewed earlier in the week. Small ale contains very little alcohol. It is weak and mild compared to stronger drinks, but it is safe and nourishing. Many medieval villagers drink small ale throughout the day. Clean drinking water is not always easy to find. Streams can become contaminated by animals or waste. Because ale is boiled during brewing, it is often safer to drink. A wooden mug is filled halfway with the cloudy liquid. The mug is held near the fire for a moment. Soon the ale becomes slightly warm. The villager takes a slow sip. The warmth spreads gently through his throat. It does not truly heat the body, but it creates a feeling of comfort that helps people face the cold morning. Outside, the village begins waking as well. Doors open slowly. People step outside wrapped in thick cloaks and wool hats. The snow beneath their boots makes a quiet crunching sound. A farmer walks toward the small barn beside his house. Inside the barn, several animals wait patiently. A cow breathes slowly, creating small clouds of warm air. A few goats shift quietly in the straw. Animals must be fed every morning, no matter how cold the weather becomes. The farmer places fresh hay into the feeding trough. The animals begin eating immediately. Their body heat helps keep the barn slightly warmer than the outside air. This is one reason animals are kept close to the house during winter. They provide not only food and labour, but also warmth. Back inside the house, the porridge has begun to thicken. The smell of warm grain slowly fills the room. Wooden bowls are placed on the table. The hot porridge is poured carefully into each bowl. A little salt is sometimes added. If the family is fortunate, a small amount of honey might also be mixed in. Breakfast is simple but filling. Alongside the meal, mugs of small ale appear once again. People eat slowly near the fire. The warmth of the food and drink helps wake the body. During winter mornings, this warmth feels especially valuable. Outside, the wind begins moving again across the snowy fields. The sky remains pale and cloudy. The sun appears only briefly through the thick winter clouds, but even this weak sunlight reflects brightly across the snow. The village looks quiet and peaceful in the morning light. After breakfast, the villagers begin preparing for the day's work. Some will gather firewood from the nearby forest. Others will repair fences or tools. Winter may seem like a time of rest, but in truth it is filled with many important tasks. Firewood must be collected constantly. Clothing must be repaired. Food supplies must be carefully managed. Every task helps the village survive until spring. Before leaving the house, one of the villagers pours another small mug of ale. He drinks it slowly while standing near the fire. For many medieval people, this simple ritual feels important. The warmth of the fire, the quiet sip of ale, the calm moment before stepping into the cold world outside. The mug is placed back on the table. A thick cloak is pulled over the shoulders. The wooden door opens with a creaking sound. Cold winter air rushes inside again. The villager steps outside and closes the door behind him. The snowy village stretches quietly around him. Smoke rises from several chimneys. Footprints mark the narrow paths between houses. In the distance, other villagers are already beginning their work. Winter life continues once again, and just like every day before it, warmth, fire, and simple mugs of ale will help the people of this medieval village endure another long cold day. By the time the pale winter sun climbs a little higher into the grey sky, the medieval village has fully awakened. Thin lines of smoke rise steadily from the chimneys. Each trail of smoke tells the same quiet story. Inside every home, fires are burning. Without these fires, the cold winter day would be almost impossible to endure. Outside, the snow reflects the dim sunlight, making the entire village appear brighter than the cloudy sky above it. Villagers move slowly through the narrow paths between houses. Their boots press deep marks into the fresh snow. Every step produces a soft crunching sound. Heavy wool cloaks wrap tightly around their bodies. Many also wear fur-lined hoods to protect their heads from the biting wind. Even with these layers, the cold air still finds its way through the fabric. Winter work must continue despite the cold. One group of villagers walks toward the forest edge carrying axes and ropes. Their breath forms clouds in the cold air as they speak quietly with each other. Today their task is simple but important. They must collect more firewood. During the winter months, wood is as valuable as food. Without enough wood to burn, the fires in the houses would slowly fade, and without those fires, the cold would quickly fill every room. Inside one small house, the fire burns brightly in the hearth. A woman sits near the flames while preparing another warm drink. She places a small iron pot over the fire. Inside the pot is water mixed with a little ale and several dried herbs. Herbs such as thyme, sage, and rosemary are sometimes used during winter drinks. People believe these herbs help protect the body from sickness during cold weather. The mixture warms slowly over the fire. Soon a gentle herbal scent begins to spread through the room. The warmth from the hearth makes the air inside the house feel comfortable, compared to the freezing wind outside. Across the room, a man repairs a pair of leather boots. Winter work often damages clothing and tools. Snow and moisture weaken leather and cloth over time. If these items are not repaired quickly, they may become useless when they are needed most. Using a thick needle and strong thread, he carefully stitches the torn leather. The work requires patience. But winter evenings and cold mornings provide many quiet moments for tasks like this. Beside him on the wooden table sits a clay jug of ale. The jug is nearly full. Ale is one of the most common drinks in medieval villages. It is brewed using barley, water, and yeast. The brewing process often takes place inside homes or small village breweries. Unlike strong modern alcohol, most medieval ale is fairly mild. It contains only a small amount of alcohol, but it provides energy and hydration. More importantly, it offers comfort during cold seasons. The man pauses his work and pours a small amount into a wooden mug. He holds the mug near the fire. The warmth slowly spreads through the drink. Steam rises gently from the surface. Taking a sip, he feels the warmth spread through his chest. Many medieval people believe drinks like this help the body stay warm during winter. The truth is more complicated. Alcohol creates a feeling of warmth because it widens blood vessels near the skin. This makes the skin feel warmer, but at the same time, it allows body heat to escape more quickly. Medieval villagers do not know this scientific explanation. They only know the comforting sensation that follows a warm drink. And during long winter days, comfort matters. Outside, the villagers returning from the forest begin dragging bundles of firewood back toward the village. The logs leave deep trails in the snow behind them. Their work is slow but steady. Each load of wood will help keep the village warm during the coming nights. When they reach the village centre, several villagers gather near a small tavern building. Taverns play an important role in medieval communities. They provide food, drink, and a warm place to rest. Travellers passing through the region often stop there for shelter. Inside the tavern, a large fire burns constantly. Wooden benches line the walls. Large barrels of ale stand near the back of the room. The smell of roasted grain and warm wood smoke fills the air. A few villagers step inside the tavern to warm themselves, their hands stretched toward the fire. After spending hours outside in the snow, even a few minutes near the flames feels wonderful. The tavern keeper pours several mugs of warm ale. The mugs are thick and sturdy. Each one holds a generous portion of the cloudy brown drink. The villagers lift the mugs slowly. The warmth spreads through their hands. Some take small, careful sips. Others drink more quickly. Laughter and quiet conversation fill the room. Moments like this are important during winter. The season can feel long and difficult, but gathering together in warm places helps keep spirits high. Back in the houses of the village, the fires continue burning. Pots of stew hang above the flames. Clothes dry slowly near the hearth. Children sit close to the fire while listening to stories from older family members. Outside, the wind continues to move across the snowy fields, but inside the houses and taverns of the village, warmth and simple drinks help the people endure the cold. The medieval winter day moves forward slowly, and once again, the fire in the hearth and the quiet comfort of ale remain important companions for everyone living in the village. As the winter day slowly moves toward the afternoon, the light over the medieval village begins to soften. The pale sun remains hidden behind thick grey clouds. Its weak light spreads gently across the snow-covered ground. Even during the brightest part of the day, winter sunlight feels faint and distant. Cold air continues to move slowly across the fields and narrow village paths. Villagers remain busy with their daily work. Some continue gathering firewood from nearby forests. Others repair tools, prepare food, or tend to animals in the barns. Winter may appear quiet, but survival during these months requires constant attention and effort. Inside the wooden houses, the fires burn steadily in the hearths. The crackling sound of burning logs fills the rooms with a comforting rhythm. Every few hours, someone adds another piece of wood to keep the flames strong. Without this careful attention, the fire could slowly fade, and in winter, a fading fire quickly leads to a freezing house. Near one hearth, a woman carefully stirs a pot of stew. The thick mixture bubbles slowly above the flames. Inside the pot are barley grains, dried peas, onions, and small pieces of salted meat. These ingredients are common winter foods in the medieval world. Fresh vegetables are rare during this season. Most food must come from stores gathered during the autumn harvest. The smell of the cooking stew spreads warmly through the room. Beside the fire sits a wooden table with several clay mugs resting on top. A large clay jug of ale stands nearby. The jug is covered with a simple cloth to keep dust and ash away from the drink. Ale remains one of the most common drinks throughout the day. Even during working hours, small amounts are sometimes consumed. Unlike strong modern alcohol, medieval ale is usually weak. It contains less alcohol and is often safer than drinking untreated water. Because of this, people drink it regularly without becoming intoxicated. A man sitting near the fire lifts the jug and pours a small amount into his mug. The liquid is cloudy and brown. Tiny bubbles cling to the inside of the mug. Before drinking, he moves the mug closer to the fire. The heat from the flames gently warms the drink. Soon, a faint steam rises from the surface. Taking a slow sip, he feels the warmth move through his body. For a moment, the cold air drifting through the room feels less noticeable. Many medieval people truly believe that drinks like this help protect them from winter cold. In reality, the warmth mostly comes from the heated liquid itself. But the relaxing effect of alcohol also helps ease the tension caused by harsh weather. Outside, several villagers gather near the edge of the village well. The well is surrounded by packed snow and frozen ground. Drawing water during winter requires extra effort. Ice sometimes forms around the bucket and rope. Still, water must be collected each day for cooking and cleaning. Two villagers pull the rope slowly together. The wooden bucket rises carefully from the dark well shaft. Cold droplets fall from the sides of the bucket as it reaches the surface. The water is poured into heavy clay containers and carried back toward the houses. Their breath forms thick clouds in the freezing air. After carrying the heavy containers, they decide to step inside the nearby tavern for a short rest. The tavern door opens with a low creak. Warm air mixed with the smell of wood smoke flows outward. Inside, the large fireplace burns brightly. Several travellers sit near the fire while warming their hands. Travel during winter is difficult and dangerous. Snow-covered roads slow down horses and wagons. Because of this, travellers often stop at taverns whenever they find one. The tavern keeper greets the villagers with a friendly nod. Soon, several mugs of ale are placed on the wooden table. The mugs feel warm from being stored near the hearth. The villagers sit down on rough wooden benches. Their tired muscles slowly relax in the warm room. They drink slowly while sharing stories about the work done earlier in the day. Some speak about the deep snow in the forest. Others discuss the amount of wood collected for the coming nights. Outside, the wind continues moving quietly across the fields. Snow drifts slowly along the narrow roads leading away from the village. But inside the tavern, the warm fire and friendly voices create a peaceful atmosphere. Back in the houses, the stew is now ready. Bowls are filled and placed on the table. The villagers sit close together near the fire while eating their meal. The thick stew warms the stomach and provides strength for the rest of the day. Alongside the meal, small mugs of ale appear once again. The combination of warm food, drink and fire makes the harsh winter day feel more manageable. As the afternoon slowly passes, the villagers know the temperature will soon begin dropping again. Winter evenings arrive quickly. The weak sunlight will fade long before the work of the day is finished. Soon the fires will grow even more important. And once again, warm drinks shared near the hearth will help the people of the village face another long cold night. The winter afternoon slowly begins to fade across the medieval village. The pale sunlight that had briefly brightened the snow now starts to weaken again. Long grey shadows stretch across the narrow paths between the houses. The sky above grows darker as thick clouds slowly move across the horizon. Everyone in the village understands what this means. Evening is approaching, and when evening arrives in winter, the cold grows stronger once again. Villagers begin finishing the last tasks of the day. Those who had gone to the forest return with bundles of firewood tied with a rope. Others bring tools back inside before frost can damage them. Animals are guided carefully into barns and wooden shelters where they will spend the night. The quiet rhythm of the village slowly shifts from work to rest. Inside the houses, the fires become stronger. Fresh logs are placed onto the glowing embers in the hearth. The flames rise higher, filling the room with warm orange light. The crackling sound of burning wood echoes gently against the wooden walls. Fire is always important during winter evenings, but during the final hours before nightfall it becomes especially important. The warmth spreads slowly through the house. Cold air that had settled during the afternoon begins to fade. Near one hearth, a woman prepares another pot of warm drink. She places a small iron kettle above the flames. Inside the kettle she pours water and a little ale. Then she adds several dried herbs from a cloth pouch. Sage, thyme, and sometimes mint are used for drinks like this. The herbs release their scent as the liquid begins to heat. Soon the air fills with a gentle herbal fragrance. Warm drinks are a simple comfort during the cold season. They warm the hands, relax the body, and bring a moment of calm. At the wooden table nearby, several villagers sit together. The day's work has left their hands rough and tired. Snow and cold wind make outdoor work difficult. But now they sit quietly near the fire, enjoying the warmth. One of them pours ale from a clay jug into several wooden mugs. The mugs are passed slowly around the table. Before drinking, each person holds the mug near the fire. The heat from the flames warms the liquid slightly. A thin steam rises from the surface. The first sip feels soothing after a long day in the cold air. For many medieval villagers, this evening drink is a familiar tradition. It is not meant to cause drunkenness. Instead, it is part of the daily rhythm of winter life. The warmth of the drink and the gentle relaxing effect help people unwind after their work. Outside the houses, the village grows quieter. The wind moves softly through the empty paths. Snowflakes begin to fall again, drifting slowly from the darkening sky. Each flake lands gently on the rooftops and fences. The entire village becomes wrapped in a silent blanket of white. Inside the house, conversation begins to grow more lively. One villager begins telling a story from his younger years. He speaks about a winter many years ago when the snow became so deep that travellers could not reach the village for weeks. Food supplies had to be carefully rationed, but the villagers survived by helping each other. Stories like this are often shared during long winter evenings. They remind people of past struggles and the strength of the community. Children sitting near the fire listen closely. Their eyes follow the dancing flames in the hearth. Sometimes they ask questions about the story. Other times they simply enjoy the warm atmosphere of the room. The herbal drink in the kettle is now ready. The woman carefully pours the steaming liquid into several mugs. Each mug carries the gentle scent of the herbs mixed with ale. The villagers hold the warm mugs in their hands. The heat spreads through their fingers. Taking slow sips, they feel their bodies relax. Many medieval people believe that warm drinks like this help protect the body during winter nights. Cold weather often brings illness. Coughs, fevers, and chills are common during harsh winters. Herbal drinks mixed with ale are sometimes used to help people feel better. Whether the herbs truly heal or simply comfort the body, the ritual itself feels important. Outside, the sky grows darker with every passing minute. Soon, the last traces of daylight disappear completely. Night returns to the village. Inside the house, the fire burns brightly. Its warm glow fills the room with flickering light. The villagers sit close together, enjoying the warmth and quiet conversation. Their mugs rest on the wooden table beside them. The long winter evening has begun once again. And just like every night before it, the fire in the hearth and the gentle warmth of ale help carry the people of the medieval village peacefully through the cold darkness. The winter night slowly settles deeper over the medieval village. Dark clouds move across the sky, hiding the faint light of the stars. Snow continues falling gently, covering the ground with another quiet layer of white. The narrow village paths slowly disappear beneath the drifting snow. Outside, the world feels cold, silent, and still. But inside the wooden houses of the village, life continues around the warm glow of the hearth. In one small house, the fire burns steadily in the stone fireplace. The flames move slowly around the thick pieces of wood. Occasionally a small spark rises into the air before fading away. The warm light from the fire spreads softly across the wooden walls and beams. It creates a calm and comforting atmosphere inside the room. Several villagers remain gathered around the hearth. Winter evenings often bring people together like this. After a long day of working in the cold fields or forests, sitting near the fire becomes one of the most peaceful moments of the day. A thick wool blanket rests across the shoulders of an older man sitting on a wooden bench. His hands stretch toward the fire, enjoying the warmth spreading through his fingers. Next to him sits a wooden table with several clay mugs placed carefully on its surface. A clay jug filled with ale stands beside them. The jug has been used many times over the years. Its surface is slightly darkened by smoke and age. One of the villagers lifts the jug and gently pours ale into the mugs. The cloudy liquid fills each cup slowly. The smell of grain and fermentation drifts softly through the air. Before drinking, each mug is held near the fire. This small habit is common in many medieval homes during winter. The heat from the flames warms the drink slightly. Soon, a thin steam begins rising from the surface of the ale. The villagers take slow sips. The warmth spreads gently through their bodies. After hours spent in the freezing wind outside, this simple warmth feels incredibly comforting. Many medieval people believe drinks like this help keep the body warm during winter nights. In truth, the feeling mostly comes from the warmth of the liquid itself. Alcohol actually causes the body to lose heat faster. But medieval villagers do not know this. They trust the pleasant warmth they feel after drinking. and in a season where warmth is difficult to find, even the smallest comfort becomes valuable. Across the room, a woman prepares a small kettle of warm herbal drink. She places the iron kettle carefully over the flames. Inside the kettle is water mixed with dried herbs gathered during the summer months. These herbs were carefully dried and stored for winter use. Some herbs are believed to protect against illness. Others simply improve the flavour of warm drinks. As the kettle heats, the scent of herbs begins to fill the room. The fragrance mixes with the smell of burning wood. Together they create a warm and calming atmosphere. Outside, the wind moves through the village again. It brushes across the rooftops and wooden walls. The houses creak quietly as they stand against the winter wind. Inside the house, however, the fire keeps the room safe from the cold air outside. Children sit close to the hearth listening to the voices of the adults. One villager begins telling another quiet story. Storytelling is a common activity during long winter nights. Without books or modern entertainment, stories are one of the most important ways people share knowledge and pass time. Some stories are about distant lands, others speak of strange creatures or heroic travellers. But many stories are simple memories of past winters and village life. The children listen closely while watching the dancing flames of the fire. The kettle of herbal drink begins to steam more strongly now. The woman carefully pours the hot liquid into several mugs. Each mug carries the warm scent of the herbs. The villagers lift the mugs slowly. The heat warms their hands as they bring the drink to their lips. They sip quietly while continuing their conversation. Outside, snowflakes continue falling through the darkness. The village roads grow deeper under the snow, but inside the houses the warmth of fire and drink keeps the cold at a distance. Hours pass slowly during the winter evening. The fire continues burning steadily. Occasionally someone adds another piece of wood to keep the flames alive. Without this careful attention, the fire would fade and the room would quickly become cold again. As the night grows later, the villagers begin preparing for sleep. Blankets are laid across the straw beds. Fur cloaks are folded and placed nearby. Before resting, someone places one final thick log into the fire. This log is meant to burn slowly through the night. It will keep the house warm while everyone sleeps. The mugs are cleared from the table. The clay jug of ale is covered once again. The room slowly grows quieter. One by one, the villagers settle into their beds. Outside, the snow continues falling silently across the sleeping village. Inside the house, the final flames of the fire flicker gently in the hearth. Their warm glow fills the room with soft light. And as the quiet winter night deepens, the people of the medieval village drift peacefully into sleep beside the comforting warmth of the fire. The winter night grows deeper over the medieval village. Snow continues to fall slowly from the dark sky, covering the roofs and narrow paths with a quiet white blanket. The wind has become softer now. Instead of sharp gusts, only a gentle movement of cold air drifts across the fields and between the houses. Most of the village is asleep. The windows of the wooden homes glow faintly with the soft orange light of dying fires. Inside these homes, the warmth from the hearth still protects the villagers from the harsh winter cold outside. In one small house near the centre of the village, the fire burns low in the stone hearth. The flames are smaller now, but the glowing embers beneath the logs continue to release a steady warmth. The room is quiet except for the gentle crackling sound of the fire. Several villagers sleep beneath thick wool blankets and animal furs. Their breathing rises and falls slowly in the calm night. Sharing warmth while sleeping is common in the medieval world. Beds are often shared by several family members. Body heat helps keep everyone warmer during the long winter nights. Near the fire, one villager slowly wakes from sleep. Perhaps the cold air brushing lightly across his face has disturbed his rest. He opens his eyes and looks toward the hearth. The fire has grown weaker. The room feels slightly colder than before. Quietly he rises from the bed and walks across the wooden floor. The boards feel cold beneath his bare feet. He kneels beside the hearth and carefully moves the ashes aside using a small iron poker. The glowing red embers appear beneath the grey layer of ash. This is a comforting sight. The fire is still alive. He He places a few small sticks onto the embers. For a moment, nothing happens. Then a tiny flame appears. Slowly, the flame grows stronger as the wood begins to burn. Soon the fire begins crackling again, sending small sparks upward into the dark chimney. The warm light spreads across the room once more. After tending the fire, the villager reaches for a clay mug resting on the wooden table. Inside the mug is a small amount of leftover ale from earlier in the evening. He holds the mug near the fire. The heat from the flames slowly warms the drink. Steam begins to rise gently from the surface. Taking a slow sip, he feels the warmth spread through his throat and chest. For many medieval villagers, a quiet drink during the night is not unusual. The long winter nights often include short moments of wakefulness. During these moments, people may stir the fire, adjust their blankets, or take a small drink before returning to sleep. Outside the house, the village remains silent. Snow continues drifting down across the rooftops and barns. The wooden fences that surround small gardens are almost completely buried now. Even the narrow paths between houses are slowly disappearing beneath the fresh snow. Only the faint outline of the village well and the tavern building remain visible through the falling snow. Inside the house, the fire grows stronger as the new wood catches flame. The warmth begins spreading again through the small room. The villager places the mug back on the table and returns quietly to his bed. He pulls the wool blanket tightly around his shoulders. Soon the warmth of the fire begins to fill the room once more. Across the room, a dog sleeping near the hearth lifts its head for a moment. Its ears twitch as it hears the sound of the crackling fire. Satisfied that everything is calm, the animal curls back into its warm sleeping place. Animals often sleep close to the fire during winter nights. Their thick fur helps them tolerate the cold, but the warmth of the hearth is always welcome. Hours pass slowly in the quiet darkness. The snowstorm outside begins to fade. The falling snow becomes lighter and lighter until only a few flakes drift down from the sky. The clouds begin moving slowly away. Behind them, the faint light of the moon begins to appear. Moonlight reflects across the snow-covered village, creating a soft silver glow across the rooftops and fields. Inside the house, the fire continues burning steadily. The warm orange light flickers gently against the wooden walls. Everyone inside sleeps peacefully. The long winter night continues quietly, protected by the warmth of the hearth and the comfort of shared shelter. And in this small medieval village, the simple combination of fire, blankets, and warm drinks helps the people endure another cold night beneath the silent snowy sky. The long winter night continues across the medieval village. The sky above has slowly cleared. Dark clouds that once carried the snowfall have drifted far beyond the hills. Now the pale moon shines softly over the silent landscape. Its silver light spreads across the fields, frozen rivers, and rooftops of the village. Fresh snow covers everything. The narrow paths between houses are now smooth and white. Only the faint shapes of fences and wooden gates remain visible beneath the deep snow. Most of the villagers remain asleep inside their homes. The cold air outside is sharp and quiet. But inside the houses, the fires continue burning slowly in the hearths. These fires are the heart of every home during winter. Without them, the freezing night would quickly fill the rooms. In one house near the edge of the village, the fire glows softly in the stone hearth. The flames are small now, but the thick log placed there earlier continues burning slowly. The warm light flickers gently against the wooden beams of the ceiling. A faint orange glow spreads across the room. Several villagers sleep together beneath thick wool blankets and animal furs. The warmth from their shared body heat helps keep the cold away. During medieval winters, sharing sleeping space is common. Beds are often simple wooden frames filled with straw or wool. Blankets made from sheep wool provide insulation against the freezing air. Even with these layers, winter nights can still feel very cold. The fire must continue burning through the night to protect the house from freezing temperatures. Near the hearth, A clay jug rests quietly on the wooden table. The jug still contains a small amount of ale from earlier in the evening. Next to it are several wooden mugs. Their surfaces are worn smooth from years of use. Ale has long been a common drink in villages like this. It is brewed using barley grain, water, and yeast. Most medieval ale is mild and weak compared to modern alcohol, but it is nourishing and often safer to drink than untreated water. For many villagers, it is simply part of daily life. Sometimes ale is consumed during meals, other times it is enjoyed slowly during quiet evenings near the fire. The warmth of the drink can feel comforting during the cold season. Even though alcohol does not truly warm the body, the warm liquid itself creates a soothing feeling. Across the room, a faint sound comes from the sleeping area. One of the villagers shifts slightly beneath the blankets. The night is long, and it is common for people to wake briefly before falling asleep again. The room remains peaceful and calm. The only steady sound is the quiet crackling of the fire in the hearth. Occasionally a small spark rises from the burning wood. It drifts upward into the chimney before disappearing. Outside the house, the village remains completely silent. The moonlight reflects brightly from the deep snow. Barns and storage sheds stand quietly beside the houses. Inside the barns, animals sleep peacefully on thick layers of straw. Their slow breathing creates small clouds of warmth in the cold air. Cows, goats, and sheep provide important resources for the villagers. Milk, wool, and meat all come from these animals. During winter, keeping them protected from the cold is extremely important. In many villages, barns are built close to the houses. This allows the animals' body heat to slightly warm the surrounding area. It also makes it easier for villagers to care for them during heavy snow. Back inside the house, the fire continues burning slowly. The thick log placed earlier is now glowing red beneath a thin layer of ash. Its slow burn is perfect for long winter nights. It provides steady warmth without needing constant attention. Hours pass quietly. The moon slowly moves across the sky above the village. Its pale light continues shining across the snowy rooftops. Inside the house, the warmth of the hearth keeps the cold outside where it belongs. The clay jug of ale remains untouched on the table. The mugs sit quietly beside it. Earlier in the evening, they were filled with warm drinks and shared among friends and family. Now the room is still. The villagers rest peacefully after a long day of work. The medieval winter night moves slowly. Time seems to pass more gently during these quiet hours. No loud sounds disturb the calm darkness. Only the occasional whisper of wind passes through the village streets. Eventually the sky begins to change once again. Far on the eastern horizon, the faintest shade of grey begins to appear. Morning is still far away, but the first hint of dawn is slowly approaching. The moonlight grows softer as the darkness begins to fade. Inside the house, the fire still burns quietly. The last log continues glowing with steady warmth. The villagers remain asleep beneath their blankets. Soon they will wake again. Another winter morning will begin. The fires will be stirred back to life. Food will be prepared, and warm drinks will once again be shared beside the hearth. But for now, the village rests peacefully beneath the silent winter sky, protected by fire, shelter, and the quiet traditions of medieval life. Slowly, the long winter night begins to come to an end. Far beyond the quiet medieval village, the horizon begins to change. At first, the change is almost impossible to notice. The sky, which had been completely dark only moments ago, now carries the faintest shade of grey. The moon that once shone brightly over the snowy rooftops begins to fade slowly into the morning light. The cold air remains still and sharp. Fresh snow lies thick across the fields and narrow village paths. Every rooftop, fence, and wooden cart is covered with a soft white layer. For a few peaceful moments, the village rests in complete silence. Inside the houses, the fires that were carefully maintained through the night now burn gently with glowing embers. The large logs placed into the hearths before sleep have nearly finished burning. But they have done their job well. They have kept the homes warm enough for the villagers to sleep through the cold night. In one wooden house near the centre of the village, the faint red glow of the hearth lights the dark room. The fire is quiet now. Most of the flames have disappeared, leaving only glowing coals beneath the ashes. These glowing embers are still warm. They hold the last heat of the night. Soon someone will wake and stir the ashes to bring the fire back to life. But for now, the house remains peaceful. Several villagers sleep close together beneath thick wool blankets and heavy animal furs. Sharing warmth like this is common during medieval winters. The body heat from each person helps protect everyone from the freezing air. Near the wooden table, a clay jug still rests where it was placed the night before. Inside the jug is the last portion of ale. The mugs beside it are empty now, their wooden surfaces catching the faint glow of the dying fire. Ale has been part of the entire day. From the early morning meal to the quiet evening beside the hearth, it has appeared again and again in small cups and simple mugs. For medieval people, ale is more than just a drink. It is part of daily survival. The brewing of ale begins long before winter arrives. During the harvest season, barley and other grains are collected from the fields. These grains are dried and stored carefully. Later they are used to brew the village's supply of ale. Water is heated, grain is added, and yeast begins the slow process of fermentation. The result is a mild drink that contains a small amount of alcohol, but it also contains nutrients and calories. For villagers who spend long hours working in cold weather, these extra calories are valuable. The drink also feels comforting when warmed beside the fire. During winter evenings, holding a warm mug of ale can bring a sense of calm after a long day. Many medieval people believe it helps keep the body warm. In truth, the warmth mostly comes from the heated liquid itself. Alcohol actually causes blood vessels near the skin to widen. This can create the feeling of warmth, but it also allows heat to escape from the body more quickly. Medieval villagers do not know this scientific explanation. They trust what they feel, and what they feel is the gentle warmth that spreads through their chest when they take a sip beside the fire. Outside the house, the sky continues to brighten. The grey colour slowly turns pale blue as the first morning light spreads across the snow-covered fields. The village begins to wake. Inside the house, one of the villagers slowly opens his eyes. The faint morning light coming through the small window tells him that the day is beginning again. He sits up slowly beneath the blankets. The air in the room feels colder now. The fire has nearly faded. Quietly he stands and walks to the hearth. Using a small iron tool, he carefully moves the ashes aside. Beneath them, the red glow of the embers appears once again. The fire is not dead. It is only sleeping. He places several small pieces of dry wood onto the embers. For a moment, nothing happens. Then a small flame appears. The flame grows slowly, feeding on the fresh wood. Soon the fire begins crackling once again. The warm light returns to the room. The new day has begun. Across the room, the other villagers begin waking as well. Some stretch beneath their blankets. Others rise quietly and move closer to the fire. The first task of the morning is always the same: bring the fire back to life. Without the fire, the house would quickly fill with cold air from outside. Soon the flames grow stronger. The warmth spreads slowly through the room. One of the villagers walks to the table and lifts the clay jug. He pours the last of the ale into several mugs. The mugs are placed near the fire to warm slightly. Steam begins to rise from the liquid. Each person takes a slow sip. The warmth spreads gently through their bodies. Outside the window, the village is fully visible now in the morning light. Smoke begins rising from the chimneys as other families wake and rebuild their fires. The narrow paths between houses are still covered with snow. Soon villagers will step outside to clear the paths and begin their daily work. Another winter day has begun in the medieval village. The routine will be familiar. Wood will be gathered, food will be prepared, animals will be fed, and when evening returns, the villagers will once again gather beside the warm hearth. There will be fire, there will be quiet conversation, and there will be simple mugs of ale shared slowly as the cold night returns. In this way, the people of the medieval world endure the harsh winter season. not with great luxury or comfort, but with simple traditions that bring warmth, community, and calm to their daily lives. And as the morning sun slowly rises over the snowy fields, the medieval village begins another peaceful day beneath the cold winter sky.